Hello, social workers, mental health professionals, and change agents. Welcome to another episode of the Social Work Rants podcast. I'm your host, Bash Moreno. Saludos a todos. Greetings, everybody. Thank you for tuning in, tapping in, however you are watching or listening to the podcast. You can follow the podcast on social media platforms such as Instagram at the Social Work Rants podcast. That's all one word. You can follow the podcast on Twitter. Check me out while still free. Social Work Rants, and also Facebook, aka Meta. Type in the Social Work Rants podcast. Hit the like button. Thank you everybody for your love, for your support. Thank you for rocking with me. Gracias a todos por su apoyo. Really appreciate all the love and support. I really truly appreciate it. Um, Definitely make sure this episode is brought to you by Bass City Entertainment, your home for online holistic self care for social workers, mental health professionals, and other helping professionals like teachers, school psychologists, using poetry and virtual Zumba classes. Featuring my book, Triumph Through Pain: How to Maximize Your Full Potential During Hard Times, is available on paperback and on Kindle on Amazon. So make sure you get your copy. For those who purchased the copy, thank you so much for purchasing it. Please leave a review on Amazon. I really truly appreciate it. Um, and also make sure you get the copy of this lovely book. Latinx and Social Work Volume 2 is also available on Amazon. It's already #1 bestseller, literally 2 days before it came out. The book's been out for just over a month, so uh, is available in English and Spanish. So make sure you get your copies. It's a juicy, juicy book. I've been mentioning the book for a while, and have had uh, contributing authors on the podcast for a while. So, and speaking of contributing authors, we have the talented Elizabeth Conte. ¿Cómo estás? How you doing?
Bien, ¿y tú? I'm good.
Muy bien. I'm glad we able to connect and we can talk about the book and talk about all the great things that you have been doing and continue to do and what is next for you. So, how's your day going?
Oh, it's going well. Thank you for having me.
No, of course, of course. We're talking offline about how the beauty of this book, bringing us together, and also the group chat is always something going on, and just the beauty of networking and relationships in the field, and um, just all the talent that's in the book, and literally put us together. There's like $1 million worth of ideas and talent that exists in the social work Latinx and Social Volume 2 book edition, and at the book launch. So you had to be there. Like it was definitely a beautiful experience. Meeting so many uh, MSW students and just seeing the excitement and like the future of social work like live and in person was definitely a beautiful and touching experience.
Definitely. That was an experience.
that, let's start with that. Like how like tell me, like give me your perspective or how that was for you, like from writing your chapter, which I read today, and definitely it was like it's some powerful stuff, and like some of the stuff I kind of experienced a little bit myself in my career. So like, just tell me or tell tell the listeners and viewers about it.
The book writing experience, I was just crying. Um, I I was I always wanted to write. Um, and I had the opportunity now with Erica and Latinx, for social workers. But it was like digging in. It was very like going back, to like I think to wounds that you already healed, and then it's like you kind of like reopen them, and
Mm.
it's like then you're like crying on all over again, and it's reminiscing those stories, and it's actually seeing how much growth you have made personally and professionally.
Right.
It was, so it was it was a touching experience.
No, absolutely. I was telling you know, Erica Erica Sandoval, who's the main author of the book, and it kind of brought us all together. Is that when I saw like the final edit and like read through everything, literally, and I was reading it, like I saw the email and reading it while I was at work, and definitely had like tears coming down, and it was like I was hoping that my supervisor don't walk by and see me crying because she will be nosy and ask me like, "Are you okay?" But I was like, "Wow, like this is like the final piece. This is for the world to read, and you know, my story. Like, I got you know my very intimate close friends know the story, but I've had like coworkers and people who I have associated with or people who I met, between Instagram and social work friends and like they don't know the story at all. So it was like definitely a powerful the whole book is powerful for what I read so far that people being so vulnerable and honest and telling their truth. I was like, wow, like you really like went through this and it is like very inspiring that despite that you're still pushing through and doing all the things that you're doing. So and kudos to you, coming from Puerto Rico and coming
Yes.
to
Thank you.
New Jersey and that's a culture shock already.
Culture
That's
shock.
such a, especially in you in Union City. You know, that's definitely like I know a little bit of of that area. Living in Hackensack and like driving by. In fact, some friends that lived in like that area. And definitely a lot of good food in in that area, a lot of good restaurants
There's definitely
over.
good food. Always gets me in trouble.
So, but definitely like it was a culture shock. And for you to do where you're at right now is definitely inspiring. For those that don't know who you are, let people know who you are and what you do in our wonderful field of social work.
Okay. Um, Elizabeth, I'm a social worker. I'm a LMSW. I am a school social worker. I'm a school social worker for the New York City Department of Education. I've been with the Department of Education for 7 years. Um, and before that, I worked in the nonprofit world for about 18 years, maybe. Yeah, about 18 years in the nonprofit world. And then I switched over to the New York City Department of Education.
Oh, nice. How was it working in the schools, especially uh, during pandemic and now and last year and now the beginning part of this year?
Well, at the new school I'm at, I was hired as an attendance social worker. So attendance is definitely a challenge. During pandemic, attendance was a challenge as well. And I was able to do counseling online. And I have been working with my students for 4 years, so I was lucky enough to have a really good relationship, and we continue the relationship. Um, but then coming back to school, that was a challenge. It was a challenge because I had to go back to school. I couldn't lose my job, and it was scary. Like, will you get COVID? Will you get sick? How will your body react to it? Will anybody in your family get sick if you come home sick? Um, but I mean, thank God, I never got sick, and we just made it work. With the kids that were coming in that were hybrid, um, I was, still there for them. I did my counseling, and we wore masks and we did what we had to do. And now I feel like COVID has affected a lot of families still. Attendance is an issue. There's families that want to go back to hybrid. Um, that's not an option now, unfortunately.
Right.
There's only one school in New York City that just opened up that's actually hybrid. So it's half day school, half day online. And right now they're only taking freshmen. So it's a challenge, but we were pushing through. We're supporting the families the best that we can and offering my services to them. um I do counseling, and I tell the kids, how can I help you, and meet the families where they're at, really, and provide the services that they need.
No, definitely working as a school social worker the year for a year and a half before the job I'm working now. Definitely attendance was a huge issue.
Mhm.
Um, even accessibility to Wi-Fi was a huge issue. You know, when I moved from New York and moved to Delaware and working with the kids in the school, and there's a lot of farmland, so there's like a rural area. There's
Oh, wow.
certain sections that doesn't matter what Wi-Fi you had, doesn't matter if you had Comcast, Verizon, doesn't matter. The Wi-Fi was not working, even though we would take the small little Wi-Fi things to the house and give it to them, have it connected. It just would not work. So there were these kids that refused to go back to school, and it was like, I'm not going to school, and the Wi-Fi wasn't working. So there's only so much, I could have did. Just unfortunately, we had to do truancy paperwork and send that over to truancy court, and that was part of the role that I had to do. So between home visits and going to truancy court, and even like the this past school year, last year was being in the school building, and yes, I had those thoughts, especially at the very beginning of the year, working with the kindergarteners and like, okay, what COVID is looking like. No, I do have my dad with an autoimmune compromise, and like making sure I didn't have my mask on and making sure like trying not to bring anything back home, and
Mhm.
while having kids, the little kids, punching me, kicking me, spitting at me, throwing
Wow.
throwing chairs, throwing tables, and it's like, all right, I'm I'm done. I
Oh,
survived the school year, but
you had it worse
I'm
than me.
done. Yeah, man, these kindergarteners were no joke,
Wow.
and the first graders too. They were no joke. So I definitely like when you mentioned the COVID, and definitely even the job I had before was like definitely like was that first social work job. I was definitely like, if I didn't have to go inside a school building for anything, I definitely do home visits, and I'll meet client families like in their garage or like their foyer of their home and things like that. But I wasn't trying to go inside people's houses, and if I could avoid talking to a kid up and close and personal, I was gonna do that. I didn't have the luxury that being inside working in the school building. So I could relate to that, and I'm sure a lot of school social workers kind of like dealt with similar situations, and even that other school social workers on the podcast and giving me their experience as well. So definitely interesting time that school social workers are facing now.
Oh, definitely.
And especially in New York, recently we got a mayor change within the past year, and he's still adjusting to the role, and there's a is already having complaints. I'm not doing such a great job supposedly. So, and now just recently a governor, kind of taking over like full time as the full time
Oh, yes.
governor. Just happened. So New York is an interesting place, moving forward.
It is. Definitely it is.
What else are you seeing when you do the counseling? What type of stuff are the kids uh talking about? Like what are issues are you seeing with the kids?
Um, Definitely, like a lot of mental health issues. Um, and then, it's back to the whole COVID, like the loss and the grief,
Mm,
family members that they lost. Um, and the time that they lost, because they feel like they lost that time in school. It's like, how do you get that back in school? I work at a high school, so like the kids in middle school, they lost that time, and so it's like, how do you make that time up? So even now, like even the academics and the knowledge that they have, there's a gap. So how do you fill in that gap now, right? Because now you expected to be in high school, but you probably seventh and eighth grade, you didn't like really, like you didn't really, you finished it, but you didn't gain all the knowledge that you should have been gaining.
Right.
So that's what we're dealing with now.
Yeah. Now, do you see like the? I know for me, I saw the teachers that have been teaching for a long time, kind of struggle adapting to social emotional learning in terms of the aspect, in terms of academics. Are you seeing any of that stuff currently?
Definitely. Yes.
Uh, um,
Yeah.
um, I know, like here in Delaware, like they had the kids had the day off, and it was for staff development. I was like in my head, like you better be doing some social emotional training with these teachers because they need it to deal with these kids because like you mentioned the grief loss, like I talk a lot about that, and it's not just necessarily actually losing loved ones. And like you said, it's just like we got high school kids now that like miss their middle school years, and even like my struggles with the kindergartners, a lot of them didn't have the preschool experience because preschools were closed or whatever issues were. Second graders basically missing kindergarten and first grade, doing it virtually or hybrid,
Mm-hmm.
and now like, it's gonna be years before we see, I think, a drastic change in terms of the education system. I don't know if maybe like a whole like year-round type of schooling going on, and it just changed like a whole calendar. I don't know what the solution is, but like this is like ramifications for years and like possibly like a whole generation of just like a learning gap.
I know New York meant, I think there was talks about like maybe Saturday school so the kids could catch up. Um, but I don't know like if that would actually go through in New York. But yeah, I feel like the kids actually need to catch up.
That's this is like countrywide. Like the kids need to catch up, and it's just like I saw it day in day out, and it was I think that was part of like my struggles too, to kind of like see that and not really having. It's kind of hard to like nobody that nobody prepared us for a pandemic and what that
Yeah.
life, I guess life after the initial COVID pandemic of lockdown, and with these kids, and everybody got a phone, everybody got a tablet going on, and
Yep.
it's like you spend almost 2 years in front of a screen or with tablets or try to be in class on mommy and daddy's or aunties like cell phone like through Zoom, and now kids are expected to grab a piece of paper on the table and like do work. Kids gonna look at you kind of kind of crazy. It's like, what is this like like and I saw like breakfast. I give you a perfect example. That's how like kids coming in at 8:15. Say good morning. Kids coming in,
Mhm.
getting off the bus, and they had their breakfast. And as soon as they had breakfast, like the expectation was okay. There's like a sheet on the table, like whatever math sheet, something like real basic, like addition or subtraction, whatever the teacher's doing at the time, and it's right on their desk right after they eat. And the kids see the piece of paper, they're like, "Rah!" And he's like throwing the paper, like or ripping it apart, flipping the chair, flipping the desk, and it's already not even 9 o'clock. I barely like I'm trying to have my finish off my coffee, and it already getting a calls like a crisis going on because the kid is wilding out because like, paper.
Wow. No, but yeah, but I mean, and then if you add the trauma, right? The trauma that the
Hmm.
kids already, a lot of kids have trauma already. So
Right.
you add a pandemic to that, it's like, it's even worse.
Yeah, no, absolutely no. The systemic trauma like that's going on, and to quote the words from your chapter in the book, the structural racism, and even like
Yes.
that that exists, and even within like the staff, and it's like just hearing staff was like kids like they ask for breaks, and like I need a break, and like from doing like their work, and it's like seeing like support staff like basically making fun of the kids like they needed a break, like how many breaks they gonna need, like or having like lunch. The kids would be out of hand, like they would just have lunch or going outside for recess, and like I need a break. I'm like, pero you just came back from lunch, like why you need a break for?
No, no, and that I see that in my school too. They just came back from lunch and they're like, and now they did a policy where like the first 10 minutes of class you cannot leave because you just came back from lunch. And I'm like, well, I mean, that's just them trying to avoid, like
Yeah,
that gap in learning. Like I'm not
right.
understanding this, so like that's them trying to, escape it. So
Yeah, the kids are smart. They will find some way to avoid trying to do the work, and the work is hard for them. Like it's like there's only so many Zoom calls that you could do during the day,
yes,
like and to the point that Zoom like burnout became a thing. There's like all day on Zoom, like it's like from one Zoom thing to another Zoom thing, and then another Zoom thing. Like it's like all right already, like get off the screen.
for real, everything was Zoom, right? It's like, and even now there's a lot of Zoom meetings. It's
Yeah,
like more Zoom. So it's like more like, like technology in your face.
yeah. Yeah. Which for a kid like nowadays, like I mentioned, the kids like they got the technology, so it's like it'll be fascinating to see like somebody do a research study on we already know about the kids, and have kids already, or some kids like older kids already having addictions to technology, and kind of see that in treatment facilities and now, but
Mm-hmm.
with the Zoom and due to COVID, I think there's going to be way more of that on top of everything else that you know kids have gone through.
No, definitely.
Now, I wanted to touch gears, going back to your powerful chapter, but your assimilation to from Puerto Rico, come living in New Jersey, and you're getting to like learn the English language just to get by, do your schoolwork, and the bullying that you faced, and just like you mentioned, the structural racism in your jobs that you've had, like just tell the listeners, the viewers, like what was that experience like? Because I wouldn't say it's structural racism, but like I mentioned earlier, I'm usually like the only guy in the workplace, so it's like okay, and then like usually like the only Latino in the workplace for the most part. Except for one job I had, it was like mostly guys, and it was only like one or two females, which was interesting that that dynamic. But for the most part, it's like, or and even like within like my own people, like me being Puerto Rican and having like like the worst, probably like one of like the worst clients I've had was people being of Puerto Rican descent, and having like other Puerto Rican coworkers being like kind of going against me. So I found like kind of like similars of what you wrote in your chapter.
So, like I was born and raised in Puerto Rico. So, obviously in Puerto Rico, everyone speaks Spanish. We
Mm,
are Puerto Ricans. We, like it's the same culture, the same language, the same food. But when I came here, I was placed in a bilingual class. I got here when my mom moved here when I was 11. I was placed in a bilingual class, and these kids were calling me speak. And obviously, I thought speak was the verb. I'm like, oh, I'm like, why they call me speak? Do you want me to speak? Like what? Like, so I was not understanding. Later I understood what they were calling me, and I'm like, that was like so mean. I'm like, why would you call me that?
yeah,
Um, and then they used to call me an Amy, like an immigrant. And then I didn't understand, like I was like, am I? Like, am I? Because I came from Puerto Rico, it's like, but then I'm a citizen. right? I was born a citizen.
Right.
So it's like, and then assimilating myself to, to this culture was really, it was difficult for me. Because, as I say in the chapter, these were Latino kids, like second generation Latino kids. That the parents were like Latinos, just like me. The parents immigrated and they were just mean. Like I thought maybe somebody was gonna be mean to me, somebody was gonna bully me, maybe it was gonna be the white kids. But the
Right.
white kids in school, they were just like, hey, whatever, like they didn't mess with us, right? They were just like, but yeah, so that was hard. That was hard to deal with. And then, like I always felt that then I felt like, well, and people were like, oh, you have an accent. I'm like, well, yeah, English is my second language. It's not my first language. And so I had another issue with that. And then, like in high school, this teacher, ELA teacher who was French, she said, no, everyone has an accent. She's like, I'm French, I have an accent. So she's like, don't worry about that. And even, it got to the point that I used to work for an agency, a nonprofit agency, and they actually hired, okay, I don't know if they loved me or they hated me, but they actually hired this lady. And this lady comes over, she's like, hi, I'm here to work with you. And I'm like, okay. I used to do recruitment, so I'm thinking, she's gonna help me how to recruit for the program.
Right.
And she's like, I think that she's like, I think you may need some classes. And I said, classes? She's like, yeah, speech classes. So this agency sends me to speech classes. And then the lady was like, Salma Hayek and what's it, Penelope Cruz, like the millionaires, the celebrities, they have an accent, and that's okay. And I was like, what are you trying to say? Like, that's so like
Wow.
degrading. And I was just like, whoa. So I'm like, they actually hired you because they feel I have an accent? I'm like, wow. So then I go to this class. It was at Hostess Community College. And it actually turned out to be an accent reducing class. And I was like,
Wow.
wow. I was like, wow, like, wow, I was just speechless. I mean, the professor was amazing. He was like, Elizabeth, he's like, I'm from Alabama, I have an accent. People from the South have an accent. Everyone has an accent. People from New York have an accent.
Yeah,
And
of
then
course.
after like, he said that to me, I'm like, oh, whatever, if I have an accent, deal with it. Like, that's who I am. I can't change that. So, but yeah, so like, yeah, coming here was definitely a culture shock. I thought people were going to be nicer, but they weren't. They were definitely not nice.
Yeah, that unfortunately and some of the stuff unfortunately that definitely still exists with 45 kind of made it seem like it was like okay to
Mm-hmm.
okay to do that, and it's even people are just bold nowadays, like more, I think more so now than
Than
I think,
before.
definitely in my lifetime. Like I see like some of the stuff that we see just on the news, and just or just like driving around and just kind of see like people just really being bold and stuff, and it just shakes my head over like just what has happened within the last several years to this country. So and even throughout the world, because it's not just here in America, it's throughout parts of the world as well.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's one of the other things that I had to deal with here when I came. I didn't see my mom. Like my mom used to work 7 to 3 and 4 to 12 at two factories. I
wow,
wouldn't see my mom Saturday and Sunday. And then all these kids were like, your mom was on welfare. And I'm like, no, she's not. She's working. Like, yeah. And then I was like, well, like, why would you say that? Because you're Puerto Rican. And then I learned about the stigma, right? Like, oh, you're
right,
Puerto Rican, so your parents are like on welfare and stuff. And I was just like, like it was so like, I mean, I was always proud of being Puerto Rican. Like I will never change like where I
mm,
come from. I love my people, I love my culture, I love the island. But it was so sad to see like the stigma, like
yeah,
yeah, I feel like I had a stamp, like I had a stamp, I'm Puerto Rican. So therefore I should be like fit in this box, right? And in the chapter I even write, for some people I was not Puerto Rican enough. For some others I was too Puerto Rican. And then some people say you don't dress Puerto Rican. I was like, what does a Puerto Rican dress like? Like, am I supposed
oh,
to like wear something
that's
that's Puerto Rican? Like, I don't know.
yeah.
So
I would love to know what a Puerto Rican is supposed to dress like.
I would too, right? I'm supposed to dress like Rosalind Sanchez or who, like Rosie Perez, like who, Like, So, but yeah, this was definitely, a culture shock. I used to cry and I used to tell my mom, send me back. Send my aunt lived in Puerto Rico back then. And I used to tell my mom, I was like, just send me back. I want to be in Puerto Rico. I want to live with them. And I was like, like now that I've, like a social worker, and I'm like, well, I realized how depressed I was. I was depressed for like many years, bullying, like not being, like being picked on because, I was of a certain culture, of a certain,
Right.
ethnicity.
No, it's and look at you. You're a published author and you're a rock star now.
You right?
uh, I love the term that you use, the social work angels. Yeah, you talk.
Yes.
I love that. Like you talk about like who they. And once I saw the names, I was like, oh, I'm about to launch
Yeah.
finally.
Yeah. So I actually have four. I didn't include Erica, but I actually have four. My first social work angel was my therapist, Ellen. Um, sorry, I'm gonna get emotional like the day of the
No,
book.
no,
But
it's okay.
I was,
It's okay.
I,
I cried in front of over 200 people, and it was on Facebook Live, so it's all
I did
right.
too. I did too. I did too. I was so young. I was a single mom I was in an abusive relationship. Um, and I was in starting college. I was in community college, and like there was some days that I couldn't even pay her. Like there was days that I was like, Ellen, I had to cancel because I don't. She's like, no, you come in. She's like, you pay me later. And I was with Ellen. She was my therapist for like 6 years. And when she moved to PA, I was just like, she was crying, I was crying. I'm like, oh my god. And then she's like, no, but you have grown so much. Even my daughter Natalie, like I was like, okay, I don't have a babysitter. She'd be like, bring her here. She used to be like inside, she used to be like in the church. So we would put like Natalie in the kitchen with like coloring books and stuff. And Natalie would be there coloring. I was in therapy. And then, my other my other social work angel is Maria Lizardo. I know Maria Lizardo from NIMIC, Northern Manhattan Improvement Corporation, that I used to be a case manager. I was the first case manager there for the adult education program. And I was in Adelphi, and Adelphi was, like you need to go to Rikers. And I was like, Rikers? I was like, I'm not going to like Rikers because I heard from other people that when they do the lockdown, you can't leave and you can take your cell phone. And I was like, I'm a single mom. Like, if something happens to a kid, I need to like run somewhere and like be
Right.
there. And then they wanted to send me to Mustard Seed, I believe it is, that they work with perpetrators, sexual abusers.
Mm.
And I'm not like, I'm not comfortable due to like personal reasons. And they were like, well, what are you gonna do? And I was like, oh my God. So I reached out to Maria and I was like, Maria, at that time, Maria used to work at Promesa as a social worker. And Maria was like, come on, come, I'm gonna connect you to she was doing substance abuse treatment with teenagers, with adolescents. So then I did my first year internship there. So that's why I consider Maria my social work angel, because without her, I wouldn't have been able to do an internship, and then it would have been like a year wasted. I would have
Right.
to like waste another year of grad school. And then my other social work angel is Dr. Cindy Batista Thomas. I was at Columbia, and I used to work for a nonprofit where I was crying every day. It was a living hell, but I stuck it out because my daughter was in college, and I was like, I gotta pay her college tuition, so I gotta suck it up and do what I have to do. So I, my director said, hey, we're gonna recommend you for the SIFI. Then she comes back, she's like, well, you can't do it because you didn't graduate. You only graduated a year ago. It has to be 2 years. So I said, okay. So they sent the first social worker. Then they sent the male social worker. And I'm like, oh, like, yeah, like you're gonna be next. So next, I don't go. I get passed up again. My boss goes. Um, so then when it's my turn, right now, this is the fourth time. I said, well, like, am I going? She said, no, you're not going because I need you here. Mind you, I couldn't even go across the street to get a sandwich or soda because I had to ask for permission. And then sometimes she would make me wait an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I was just there hungry. like waiting for taking permission to go across the street.
Right.
And then, she wanted to write me up because I reached out to HR and I was like, hey, I'm really interested in doing my SIFI. I feel like, that's a step in my career. Why can't I take it?
Right.
So HR was, of course you could do it. So, during the SIFI, you can only miss 3 days. Oh no, she made me miss a whole bunch of days. And, and I spoke to Cindy. I said, hey, Cindy, like this is the situation I'm going through. She let me make up the work. And that's how I was able to get my SIFI. For the SIFI graduation, she didn't let me go. She said, no, you can't go. So I didn't go. SIFI called her and not sorry, Cindy, not SIFI. Cindy called her and said, hey, I really want Elizabeth here. She said, no. And then my other social work angel is, Erica, because how I knew about the book is through Maria Lizaldo. She's my social work mentor, and they did the launch during the pandemic, and it was a virtual. It was through Instagram Live, I believe it was, but it was social media.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, okay. So I started following Erica. I started seeing the work that she was doing. And then one night she had, I believe it was Luisa Lopez on the chat on the Instagram Live.
Uh-huh.
And they did the Instagram Live, and they're like, hey, we're looking for, like other authors, new authors, if you're interested. And so I said, inbox. I was like, hey, I'm interested. I met with her, and then then she took me in for the book. So those are my three social work angels, and they were there. They were all of all three of them were there the night at the book launch. So I actually made a bag. I sent together a bag made. And then I said, you're my social work angel. Thank you for everything you have done this. And like, Cindy was crying, like, Maria was super happy. Erica's like crying. She's like, Liz, you made me cry. But yeah, I'm just, I was really grateful. And I was like,
Yeah.
and I wanted to get them something meaningful like that I made. But of course, I'm not creative. So I was like, okay, I'll get it done. I'll get it printed. So yeah. So they're my social work angels. Without them, I feel like without Maria, like definitely wouldn't have like been able to like finish grad school, like, when I was supposed to. Without Cindy, I wouldn't have been able to get my SIFI. And without Erica, I wouldn't have this wonderful opportunities, to be a public shelter.
Right. No, that's a great story. And that was the other thing that was very similar to me with grad school is like I had a going through I don't like talking about the school I went to on the podcast. But the school I went to, the MSW program I went to, it had my advisor was like, hey, like these are the options for your internship, and it was like, but I work full time, so this doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And it was like, these are the only options we have. I'm like, and I mentioned that that's impossible because I got friends in the program and they work full time and they're able to get whatever that's offered to them. Why you can't offer me the same thing? Find something. Oh, this is what we have. So I'm like, I ended up being stuck looking for my own internship, and luckily, like I was already working in the field before I even got to grad school, so I already had like past supervisors who like left, and luckily I was still had contact with, and was like calling around like, hey, like you got something opening, hey, you got something open. And luckily one of my past program directors and one of the jobs that I had who recently had left the job, work somewhere else. I still had connection with her, and it was like, yeah, there's an opening over here, and I was able to get connected and do my internship hours. But it was like, we pay all this money for grad school, and it's like you can't you can't help like a student, like we still got to work. Like I don't know how people do it, that they going to school full time or even like part time and not working and getting their degrees. Like it's like nearly impossible.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I always wanted to be a social worker since I was a little girl, but I didn't know grad school was going to be like so difficult getting an internship. I feel like, these schools, these social work schools, they, they're like, yeah, social work, but they don't find, I don't think that they go above and beyond to find like those weekend, like evening internships. It's really hard, especially if you have, if you a single parent, or if if you're the
Mhm.
breadwinner.
Yeah.
right? You need to work. You need to work
Yeah,
full time.
exactly.
Like, so I don't think that I don't think that they're flexible, and that was, that was the issue that I saw, and that you also experienced, with, with field instruction. So, but I'm glad that we made it through no matter what.
Yeah,
Whatever
that,
it
I
it
don't.
happened.
I think back and like I don't know how I did it. Even like one semester, I even like I went to work. Like I used to live in New Jersey. My job was in Queens, and taking a bus to get to Manhattan to take the subway to go to Queens. Went to work for like 2 hours, and then went to class, run the class for an hour, and then run back to finish my day out at work, and then do my internship after that, and then to run back to Jersey to that. And by that time, like I had my son, and do night duty, change the diapers, and do the feeds.
Wow. Like I was lucky because, like my mom took care of my daughter. Um, but by the time I got to grad school, obviously my daughter was a little older. But it was hard because when I was in grad school, I was working full time. I was doing citizenship classes. I was a city tech as a GD counselor, and I had the internship. And I was at school, of course. And there was a point that I told my mom, I was like, I can't make it. Like, I'm breaking down. I'm like,
Yeah.
and she said, she told me, she's like, if you drop out, what is Natalie gonna do? She's like, how do you expect Natalie to go to college if you drop out? And I was like, okay, I'm gonna make it. I was like, okay, it's about Natalie. This is about Natalie, right? And
Yeah.
I made it through. It was very hard emotionally and physically. I was just drained.
Oh yeah, I was definitely drained. I was like telling people I need a vacation from life. So it's just
Yeah.
like it's, it was just I even remember like it was definitely a Sunday because Sunday was really like the only day I was home like 20
Yes.
24/7 and like reading to my son like in his bedroom and like and I'm passing out on on the floor like while we're trying to reach him and like I'm falling asleep on the floor. So it's like definitely like crazy timing. But and I definitely graduate when graduation day came. I was like I did a dance on the stage, even though they
Nice.
they they butchered my name, but I still danced on the stage and like yelled out like Elijah, I didn't like raise my hands in the air. It's like and
Oh,
I got a cute picture of the two of us like giving each other a little tap kiss on the
oh,
lips after the graduation ceremony was over. It was like 18 months old when I graduated.
oh, it's a baby.
Yeah, baby.
Baby, baby. Oh,
So
well, he's
every
still your baby, I'm sure. He's still your baby.
yeah, he's my ganso ahora.
No, but he's still your baby. Forever, forever your baby.
He's a big baby, yes. And then I got my a couple years later, I got my daughter after that. She my baby too.
Oh, so
that's
you
why
have to,
that's why I shouted them out at the book launch. So
yes. You made me cry at the book launch. Like, I was emotional crying. And when you came up, I was like,
I,
oh, I was
I was
like,
I was emotional all day. Like, like, I was even emotional from the day that they announced the book launch. I was like, because I literally had just started a job, and when they made the announcement, I was like damn, how am I like I just started this job now. I'm gonna be forced to take a couple of days off from work and like I'll make up some excuse and like so I could take the days off and go to New York for the launch and come back.
yeah, of course. I mean, you have to be there,
Yeah,
right? That's
yes,
like,
exactly. No, it was definitely well worth it. And of course, my supervisor was like, "Oh, like, was everything okay?" Or like, didn't I like? Yeah, everything worked out fine. No, like 2 days later, like you don't even know I'm a best-selling author. So
right? It's true. Like, you don't know who you're talking about. I'm published author twice because you're published author times two.
oh that yeah, having two books coming out in the same year and actually uh in the process of publishing one while writing Latinx and social work while looking for a new job plus planning my wedding. Oh
What? I'm wedding too? No
yeah,
me. Wow.
And podcasting weekly. Yeah, it was the spring and into the summer was crazy.
Yeah, for me, it was studying for my L. Jesus, I mean, right, 3 times is a charm, they say. That's when I passed it.
Okay.
So it was studying for the L and then like writing and then like, hey, you need to edit this. And I was like, I don't have time. Like, how can I do this? I need to pass this exam. Like, this exam is taking over my life. So yeah.
Yes. Uh, wait, because there's videos on YouTube. Like, if you want to follow what I follow me on Twitter and follow me on Instagram for my thoughts on the SWB, or go back to listen to the past podcast episode. I've talked about the ASWB and that damn test. So it's like, and their shirts on sale about my what I
Yeah,
think of
that
the
was
ASWB. So
yeah, that was oh my god. I thought when so the funny thing is that when the third time I take the test, the man at the front, I don't know, he was like back there where like when they check you in,
yeah.
it was like all the way back there. So when I come, he left the paper on the desk, like right, so I could see it. And then I looked at the paper. I said, "Crap, that's my name." And then it said pass, and I'm like, "Oh shit, I'm seeing things." So I was like, "Oh my god." And then the man comes and he said, "Congratulations." I was like, "Oh my god!" I felt like I thought I was having a seizure. My body started shaking, and I started crying because I was gonna lose my job at the DOE.
Mm.
If I didn't pass this test, I was gonna lose my job. And I said, God, it was just like, oh my God, it was like it just lifted like such a weight off my shoulders. And I'm like, great, now I have to do it in another 3 years, right? I have to do the C. So I'm like, great. Hopefully 3 years down, they make it easier for us. I don't know. But yeah.
Oh, no, but that's real. That that adds to the test anxiety. Like, you could be at a job that you're mandated to be licensed, and yeah, they can hire you with a condition that you take the test and pass it, and they could, you fail, they could use that against you to let
Yes.
you go, because they hired you on the contingency to pass it. Like, no, I had a job like that they hired me on the contingency to pass it, and that's what I wrote. And part of what I wrote in my chapter was like, I'm leaving. It's like, I'm not in the right mindset to even take the exam. Like, and I'm being honest with you about the first job I've ever been like totally honest. So like, this is my situation, this is what I'm going through like right now, and you still forcing me to take this exam when I'm not mentally in the right space to take the exam. Like, all right, screw y'all. Like,
Yeah.
thank you for like, no, paying me, but I'm using you and I'm gonna keep it moving to get another job that doesn't require me to take a test. So it's like, bye.
It's I went to some, God, I've been so since I graduated grad school, I went to different programs, and the anxiety took the best of me. And then I had a really tragic life event that just prevented me from studying. Um, but one of the studying groups that I was going to, they go around, how many times have you taken the test? How many have you taken? This lady had taken it 20 times, and people were laughing, and I started crying because I said, if we're all social workers in this room,
Mm,
how is it that this lady failed this exam 20 times and you guys are laughing? Like that's not funny. And this lady is talking about test anxiety, which is something
mm.
real. Test
No,
anxiety is
absolutely.
real. And I felt like there was no empathy in that room. And the lady after she said came up and she said, "Oh my God, thank you, for extending that to me." But I'm like, it is true. We're all social workers. That test is just written in, I don't know in what language it's written in. And I don't think
Barely English.
so, yeah, right. And we saw, I know the ASWB finally released the records that they have, and
Yeah,
it's not meant for us, for Hispanics and blacks, and for us minorities to pass that exam.
yeah,
And people were like laughing at her. I was so upset. I was like, no, don't do that.
yeah. I'm doing the calculation as you said. Let's say for argument's sake, uh, depending on the state, I've seen people pay anywhere from
Yeah.
260 to like 275 to pay for the exam. I put $260 times 20, that's $5,200.
Exactly, out of her pocket.
And you know what? That's almost like a semester for school. Like to be paying
Yes.
out of pocket.
And then no, and not only the money. Imagine the
Yeah.
time that that
No,
lady spent.
exactly.
How many hours she spent studying? I just honestly, I like, and like, and then she was trying to advance in her career, so she just kept on taking different certificate programs. And I was like, wow, I was like, this is like real. And when I took it, I'm like, took it the first time, I failed it by 10 points, but I didn't study. I was studying by myself. I didn't have tutoring. The second time I got tutoring, but it was too late. I failed by 3 points. And then after the tutoring, then I passed it. But, it's just, it's a real thing that we have to go through, social workers, and we have to pay every time we fail. So,
Yeah.
it's sad that we have to go through that, because I feel like the exam doesn't make you a better social worker, right? I
No, it
mean,
doesn't.
like some social workers that I encountered in my life that I wrote about in the book, that they were not nice at all. They were licensed, they were clinical social workers, but they didn't have an ounce of empathy.
Mhm.
So I think they were just in the wrong field.
Right. Yeah, that and for MSW students that you will encounter people have supervisors, program directors that you're gonna look at them as like, how are you licensed? It's like I'm
Mhm.
like I'm way better of a social worker, like I'm more empathetic than you are and like actually care about clients' needs and here you are with a license after the fool. So it's like I had a supervisor like that. I was like the only reason like we got by and us the workers and it was a job with the mostly guys. Well, we made fun of the supervisor the whole time. That's the only
That's how you
reason.
got
That
coped.
was our that
That
was
was
our
your coping mechanism.
that was our self-care making fun of the supervisor. But it and he had his license. I was like, look, like how? So like, and I was like, I had like failed the test. I think it was like the fourth time. Between the third and the fourth time, failing the test and looking at him and like, how you pass? You sure you pass? Like,
Yeah, no,
you know,
trust me. I have won the same thing, right? Like no empathy, like no customer service skills,
oh yeah, the
nothing.
customer service was terrible. Like, the
Yeah.
supervisor was literally hiding from the clients, like didn't want no interaction with the clients. So I'm like,
Oh my God.
this is
That
the
sounds
first
like,
this is the first time I even like sharing a little bit about that job because I've always and because like people from the book know this agency very well. So I've always
oh,
been
okay.
hesitant to share
No,
share that
okay.
story. But no, it's a hot mess. But it's real, and you're even gonna have supervisors that are not even social workers. Depending on what type of work that you do, you could be the social worker. It might be the only one. So, and I know there's a big push for like corporate social work going on now,
Oh, for the employee assistance program.
or just in general, like there's a lot of like people who are actual social workers, MSWs that work in doing like DEI stuff and other things like using social work skills just in a corporate setting. So there's a lot of that going on now, and or just a big push now without. I see a lot of posts now of jobs things that you could do with an MSW degree and without needing license, and just gives like a whole like list now. So
Oh
it's
yeah, I've
more
seen
like
those too.
more education about not needing like the license and stuff. So
Hmm.
it's a lot of it's fascinating. Like sometimes I call it like the beginning of the Civil War, license versus unlicensed. And I know a lot of people will be like, you need to get your license, and you get a license, and you get a license. So it's like, and seeing other people's like, you don't need to like this stuff. Just at the end of the day, you got to do whatever works for you. Like everybody's in their own individual situation.
Exactly. No, I feel the same way. I feel
But
like, I mean, a few
but
years ago when the New York, the New York State grandfather, all these social workers in, right? I was like, wow, that's great, right?
Mhm.
So I feel like the license doesn't make you a better social worker, a better
Yeah.
human being. It doesn't. It's just and then well, it's funny because there's a social worker that I know that if you call her social worker, she gets offended. She's like, I'm not a social worker. And I'm like, okay, what are you? Like you have an MSW, right? But people on the titles, you know?
It's amazing what you see in the actual work like work environments now. Is just personalities is just it's something.
Well, not only in the work in the work field, but also in academia. I mean,
Yeah. Oh
you know,
yeah.
in the chapter, I wrote about that lovely person that told me, hey, you shouldn't go to grad school, you're not gonna make it. And then when I mentioned in my school, the school that I was gonna go to, oh no, that school's just horrible. And I remember calling Natalie and it's like, Natalie, look, and Natalie was like, no, mom. She said, what are you doing? She's like, you go to grad school and you do what you have to do and you get your master's. And then when I finished my master's, Natalie said, Mom, I think you should mail a copy of your diploma to this lady. And I was like, nah, I'm just gonna let it go because like, you know what? That's not me. Like, so I'm like, it's okay. You know, I'm better than that. But yeah.
Uh, now that's good. You took the high road. I was like, I was like, I was like contemplating in my head. Like, I probably might have, maybe not at that time for grad school. Now I definitely would have made a
Well, it's funny
made
because
a. Now I would do it.
it's funny because when the book came out, Natalie was like, "Are you gonna mail her a copy?" I'm like, "No." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "No." I'm like, "Just let it be." I'm like, if she ever gets her hands on, if she reads it, she's gonna be like, "Is this about me?" You know. So
Yeah, it is what it is. Like
yeah, right.
it's out there for the world to to get their hands on.
And for the MSW students to because I feel like in the book in the first volume and the second volume, there's so many years of experience, so many years of experience, so
Mhm.
many wonderful social workers, so much empathy, social workers that really, really have empathy, that really go above and beyond for their clients and have been in the field, like me, you, and even social workers that have more experience than us. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think I think the book is great for. I know Erica mentioned that the School of Social Work NYU, they're actually using it for the
Yeah,
students.
the volume one they're using it for one of
Yeah,
their classes. So
yeah, I think that's wonderful. Social workers, I feel like that they need like something real, right? Something tangible, like wow, this happened to somebody. So I love
no,
it.
of course, and it's real, and I hope it inspires change within the MSW the schools that like hey like we need to do a better job getting internships for students and having I know I advocate all the time on the podcast like you can't have us do gear students to go into private practice and not teach business fundamentals. It doesn't make any sense. It's
Oh my
backwards.
God. Yes, I, and I feel like they're like, oh, you should get UC, they're like, in school, you should get you like clinical license, but you don't teach me how to, like what's the process for that. I
Right.
know Edith Chaparro from the boot camp, she did
Yeah.
a workshop on it, and I attended because I said, well, I'm not doing my license now, but I want to down the line. And it was really informative. And I'm like, social work school doesn't teach you all these things. They tell you go for your clinical license, but they don't teach you all the steps and all the hours that you have to be supervised.
or
They don't teach
or
you about.
or they piggyback off the ASWB and kind of use their material and want to say like we the ones teaching you how to take the
Mm-hmm,
tests.
and then charge you.
Yes,
Oh,
in charge.
it's
Yeah,
already in your tuition fee. How much are you charging me? Yeah.
yeah. So no, the change is definitely coming, and there's no.
I right there because the exam is going to be changed next year. Do you hear? It's going to be 3 questions. So it's going to be instead of the 4 questions, they're going to give you 3 options like ABC. And I believe they're still gonna have some questions on, like they will have 4, but supposedly most of the questions will just have 3 answers.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I don't
Uh,
know. I don't know if that's gonna be better or if it's gonna be worse. I'm hoping that it's better, but I know that those are the changes coming for the new exam in 2023.
eh, no, that'd be definitely interesting to see and get people's feedback as to how that the new version. I heard of a new version was coming.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was going to be the format. I mean, I'm not. If I can help it, I'm never giving another dime to
Oh,
ASWB.
I I hear you. I trust me. I know the feel. I trust me. I know the
Oh,
feeling. But yeah, and that's why I think there's so many people rushing to take the exam now because they're
mm,
saying, like I know what this exam is like because I already have failed it. I don't know what the new one's gonna be like. So I think that's a lot of people rushing to take this exams now.
mm. No, it makes sense, and we got like a month and a half left of 2022, so
Y-
it's like rushing
Yeah.
it to find test dates and getting all the paperwork in. Just a whole, it's just a whole tedious process just to even like register for the for the test and before even like taking it, and then like
No, and
all,
even scheduling the exam, I mean, like at one point, right? Because I was about to lose my job if I didn't pass this exam. I was like, I told my daughter, I was like, I'm going to PA, I'm going to Florida. And she's like, you going on vacation? I'm like, no, I need to find somewhere where I can sit for this exam. Because I was like, if I don't pass this exam, I'm gonna lose my job. And I cannot, it's like I want to retire from the DOE, right? Like this is my retirement, this is my last stop. I was like, I don't want to lose that. The benefits and the salary. And
right.
I really and I love working with teenagers. I feel like they give me so much energy and they're just amazing. They're just really amazing human beings. And I was like, I don't want to lose this. So I was thinking of going out of state to take it. And in Facebook, um when I was taking the exam, I belonged to these Facebook study groups, and the people were like traveling. People were going from Texas to like Florida to like Maryland, Delaware, anywhere because they didn't have test dates. And I'm like, that's insane. That is really sad. You charge
Yeah,
this much and you don't even have test date in the state that we live in.
yeah.
So
That, that's absolutely. This is just a whole money grab. And at the end of the day, it's just a whole money grab and stressing us out. And we do so much work in the communities. And like, I can make a very strong argument. We do, and I've mentioned this in the past. We do as much work or even more work than like police officers and firefighters. And no disrespect to them, but we keep communities together. Like, and we and for us to go through what we go through just to get a piece of paper, and at the end of the day with some extra letters after our name, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. And even like the $5,200 that I mentioned earlier, I can name like 50 things that that person could have did
yeah,
with that money. So it's like that's like 4 or 5 months of my mortgage paid off. That's $5,200. That's like at least like 50 to 60 shares of like Amazon, Apple stock that at the end of the day, like when the stock market gets better, like you be making more money from the stock market than actually working a social work job. So it's like
yeah,
so many things that go on vacation, a nice like vacation, go to like in Hawaii, like you pay, that's a Hawaii trip right there. So it's like so many things you could do with that money instead of
yeah,
just
because
giving
that
it
money,
to,
yeah,
you never
that
get
money
that
you
money
never get
back.
it back. No, you're
Exactly.
not gonna get it back. It's insane. You will never get that money back. And then once you have the license, right? Because
Now you gotta
once
pay
that
for CEUs.
exactly, then you gotta pay the CEUs. These are like all the little things that we should do another podcast. The things they don't tell you in grad school. The things they don't tell you as a student, right? Because you're like, hey, I'm gonna go to grad school. I'm gonna become a social worker, but they don't tell you all the things that that we have to pay for the bucket. And it's not like we make a ton of money, right? We
Yeah.
should, because we're helping put we help families, we help the community, we help individuals, we do micro and macro, and but we don't get paid enough.
Yeah, it's not nearly enough, and definitely each state is different. Cost of living is different, and
Yes.
it needs to be all across the board. It needs to be just better. Like it doesn't make sense at all. Which is why like I've had people met people is like leaving the field. Is like I can't like burnt out. Like it's not worth it.
Yeah. And it's sad because we have lost some really good social workers.
No, yeah, absolutely, and we are so needed, especially whatever. I don't call this the. I don't like when people say we like the pandemic is over, like because especially the World Health Organization never said it was over,
Exactly.
and CDC never said it was over, even though CDC got their own problems. But whatever version we in right now, like we are so beyond needed in so many different areas, from hospitals, schools, like just everywhere, just boots on the ground in the community. And you mentioned Facebook groups. I'm like in my neighborhood's Facebook group, and I'm always advocating for, okay, instead of building all these brand new houses, like take some of this farmland that you guys bought and build a community center and put like a mental health resource center, like with all these kids can actually get like mental health treatment, or in the community. And it's just like stuff stuff needs to happen for these kids, and not be like, oh well, like what happened, like we could have done something. Like, yeah, you could have done something. You could have like built something for the actual
Mm-hmm.
community, instead of like money just being wasted on nonsense.
Exactly. Put the money to work. Don't just throw the money away.
Which leads me to you working in New York in the DOE, and it's like, well, so much money that the state, I think, has wasted. My time living in New York, and with Cuomo running things, and now Cuomo's not there anymore, and we got brand new mayor, governor. I'm glad that they're working together. Like that was a refreshing, at least from the outside. Now looking in, and just for what I seen, like online, like the governor and Mayor Adams kind of like seemed like on the same page, because De Blasio and Cuomo, they couldn't couldn't stand couldn't stand each other. It was
Right?
it was like the I call them the dumb and dumber. Like, they can never get along, and it's like always fighting each other, and nothing was truly like being done. Like the only thing I'm glad De Blasio did was the universal pre-K for 3 and 4 year olds. That was like his best thing he ever did. I was like, I'll forever be grateful for that. When my daughter
No, no, yeah.
did the
No,
three
no,
the pre-K.
no, no, no. I think the pre-K is definitely, it was definitely, I think that was long overdue. They should have done that a
Yeah,
long time ago, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's like, let's educate the baby since they're young, and let's not charge. Why should we charge, right? I mean, education should be free.
yeah.
So,
Mama, let's see what.
vamos a ver is right. Let's
No,
see.
but I mean, there's a housing, this housing crisis is like everywhere. Like, rent is like through the roof. I know in New York, like it's like, I know De Blasio was trying to like use like old hotels and like trying to make like SROs for people, and then like having like the community fight against that. And for me, I think like after Hurricane Sandy, like the shelter system like never like recuperated after that. So like there's like people need housing, and it's not enough, and the politicians don't know what affordable housing actually means, because like so like a social work salary can't afford like some of these like brand new apartments what they charge, and it's like, like you kidding me? Like 95. I need to make $95,000 to live like in the hood, right right next to like a project building.
Yeah,
area that's notoriously like drug infested, like is like you gotta put a brand spanking new building and you gotta make like 9500,000 minimum to live in
yeah,
the building. It's like it doesn't make sense.
yeah. New York, I mean, housing everywhere is so expensive right now. It's really sad.
And it's a basic right, and especially like all these housing moratoriums that are ending on with COVID, and we're going to see more and more, unfortunately, more and more
Oh yeah,
homelessness.
yeah, because they ended that COVID help. Yeah, a lot of people are gonna lose their houses, and that is so sad. You have worked so hard, like people buy houses.
Mhm.
It's like they paid all these years and now to lose it because COVID. It's just sad.
Yeah, and so we're going to need social workers to in the housing courts to help people find houses. Like, so it's like
Yeah,
you're always going to need us to do something. So it might as well like set money aside and pay people an actual livable wage, and especially in an expensive city like New York or state expensive states like California, and you got to pay to do this hard work that we do, because at the end of the day we gotta actually do like the self care and do the work, because it's hard work, and we gotta you know we show up for our clients. So, and like I mentioned at the book launch, like who's there to support us? Like we got so you got to pay us what we're worth, and want me to do this hard work and bust my behind. All right, fine, but you got to pay me.
yeah, definitely. If not, we're gonna have to go into into like mental health, because that's the only um that's the only route. It's get your clinical license so you can go into mental health, and then maybe you can open up your own clinic, or do private therapy, because with our salaries,
Yeah,
we're not making it hard.
no, it's tough, and that's something for grad school students to, and I hope and graduate schools to give that real education to the students who was really what the real deal is, like outside of the rope, not just um and just academia. You mentioned academia, like people, if you're writing a book, actually mention that that's going to be used for textbooks, to actually like write that in the books, 'cause actually people read and really understand what they're getting themselves into.
Yep.
So
And hopefully they don't take the loan forgiveness away, because um
no,
that's
no,
topic.
I heard from a good reliable source that actually know people in the White House that it is coming, as long as well, it all depends now on what happens with the Senate and House of Representatives. Like if the Senate, kind of flips to Republicans, or House of
Mm,
Representatives. If it flips, we might have a whole new conversation. Pero as of this recording, like forgiveness is supposed to, like if you did all the paperwork, submit, if you have income driven repayment plan already, like you already had that, and you under PSLF, and plus you did that 5 minute
mm,
questionnaire for if you had Pell Grants, like July 2023, like you should be completely forgiven, or at least mostly, like most of your loans will be done. Because I've heard people got like hundred, like over $100,000 stuff. Like I don't know if you have over $100,000, you'd be completely wiped out, but at least like more than half will be like done. Like I
okay.
like I know for myself, like I got like just under 60, and I know I'll be completely done by July, as of right now.
Oh, that's awesome. Congratulations. Wow, congratulations.
That's because I spent most of my jobs have been nonprofit, except for
Mm-hmm.
the school year that that I did this past school year. So I'll be super done.
Oh my God. Yeah, I looked and I have like 3 more years. I'm like, okay. You know. So I hope that that loan forgiveness does go through because after
But
3 years,
but my
I would-
my question was like, okay, if like for myself an example, like I got to start paying in January, so that am I gonna get that money back if I pay like monthly? And like that is the question that I have. Like if I'm starting to pay back my loans in January, and but I'm getting potentially getting my loans forgiven by the summer,
you're not
those
gonna.
payment. If
No,
I'm gonna get those,
you know, like how
it's all a money grab. Like I don't understand.
you know when they did when COVID started, I was paying into the student loans before they said like we didn't have to pay,
Right,
and then they said, oh, if you paid, you could get a refund,
right.
and it was so much like you were jumping through hoops, and I was like, I can't. I was like, I just keep it. I really can't because you're stressing me out.
Right.
And I was like, no, I don't need that kind of stress. So yeah, so I don't think you're
Just
gonna, but at least your loans are gonna be wiped out. So you should throw yourself a little party there.
I'm gonna wait till it actually happens, and then I see it knocked off my credit report,
Yes, but my
and then I'll celebrate.
I told my friend, I'm like, I was like, not only do we have a debt, right, that we have to pay, but that's in your credit report.
Mm,
I was like, it's good debt, but still,
yeah.
like, I'm like, I don't need that type of negativity in my credit report. I'm like dying to get rid of that.
No, of course, and I don't like the fact that I know it's a joke. Like we have to joke with situations like that, but like I don't like seeing like my fellow social work peers are like, oh, God already took care of it. Like I'm not paying paying the loans. Or like, all right, if you want your credit report credit being jacked up, like that's on you. But
Yeah,
somehow, some way, you're gonna have to pay that money.
no, no, exactly, right? I mean, we just have to pay us, the 10 years, and then hopefully they wipe they wipe the debt after.
Well, it should be with the COVID, it should be if you have PSLF, it should be just 7 years of actual payments because they're gonna give you the 3 years.
Don't tell me that because I'm about to fall off the chair. Please don't tell me.
They supposed to
Ay, Dios
up
santo, no
up
digas
to
eso, que mira, me da.
up to the 3 years. Depending
Oh my.
if you work in a nonprofit, it should be up to the three
Oh,
years.
okay, I've been working nonprofit forever. I've
Yeah,
been in
me
the
too.
DOE for I've been in the DOE for 7 years, and if they delete that, la que va a tener la fiesta soy yo. I'm gonna tell you.
But just be patient. Like hopefully, Kagane, the Democratic senator
Yeah,
in Georgia, and a couple other to at least stay the 50-50 that it currently is, so that stuff can actually happen. And in the summertime, you're gonna see a lot of social workers. Not everybody, but a lot of social workers like ecstatic and partying.
no, yeah. I mean, I told my daughter, I was like, I don't care. If they only take a 20. That's 20 is better for me because the number goes down. You pay
Exactly.
for it. So I don't care. I'm like, free money is free money. You could take 20. I'll be happy with that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely
You
no.
know,
I
gotta be
mean,
grateful.
no, of course, because they could use that rest of the money to be saving up for kids' college or put it
Retirement.
in the in the stock market. You got a house, put more money to the principal so you can knock that loan off or start businesses and
Mm-hmm.
go on that long awaited vacation. Do so many things with the extra money from not paying the loans. So
Definitely.
it needs to happen because the student loans have been driving me nuts.
Oh, oh my God.
I actually used the first stimulus check. I gave it like, here, I need to pay this off only because I was planning to purchase to getting ready to purchase my house. So I was worried about my debt to income ratio. And it was like, here, take it, because I need this student loan the balance to go down to help my my debt to income ratio. So like, hey, the first 1,200, here, take it. I get the next one.
No, yeah, right. I mean, no, I don't
So
blame.
it's like now if they want to give me the refund back, I'll take that 1,200 because
I know some people that got a refund. I mean, I guess like one of my friends was like, "Yeah, I got a refund saying that I overpaid." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So
yeah, it's still like it's still up in the air, but that's supposedly that it's coming, and the government keeps making tweaks to the program, so we just gotta be patient
Okay.
and hope the Senate House of Representatives stay blue for stuff to happen, and hope by the summer or something. I think the if you had the Pell Grant, something is supposed to happen by the end of this month.
Okay.
So and then the rest of the money is supposed to be done by the summer of next year.
Okay. So I mean that's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the
But
information.
that vamos a ver si let's see if it actually go through. But
Vamos.
that's what's supposed to happen.
Well, keeping my fingers crossed that that's
So if you could follow there's a person her she goes by the student loan doctor on Instagram. She always does like lives, IG lives. So she's the one that has the like an inside scoop from the White House.
what's her name in the Instagram?
The student loan doctor. That's all one word.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, her name is Sonia Lewis. This is a young African American from.
Oh, I see it. Yep.
Yeah, she always does a lot of stuff for helping people with the student loans, and that's who I get my main info from.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know. Yeah, because I
That's for
had
all the listeners that gave you a gem, and all the watchers gave you a gem. Who the fuck? And she don't pay me to say that, but I'm trying to help I trying to get back from this to social work. It's in our code of ethics to get back. So that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing.
and for free.
For free.
Free advertisement.
No, so no, but it's important. Like the little hair I left is like I'm losing it. Thinking about student student loan.
Ay, Dios.
El poquito que tengo is like turning white. Thinking about student loan. So it's like I need it to be done. Like that way I could.
Me too. So I can start getting ready for retirement.
Yeah, I need to. I need to.
Retirement.
Yeah, I need to put like the $6,000 in a IRA that let it grow because I need been in the social work field 20 years. I need to think about retirement. I can't be doing this. I got another 10 good years left. I feel got 10 good years left. After that, like it's gonna be a struggle.
Oh God, you sound like me counting like how many more years do I have to do to retire? And
or let
yeah,
this podcast blow up and finally get some money from the podcast. Suddenly, like I just do podcast episodes and get paid.
oh, you will call it manifest it so it can
Exactly.
come to you.
Yeah, I'm putting it out there. So.
Put it out there to the universe.
O el próximo libro.
No, el próximo viene. El próximo viene. Eso viene. You already have two. So you're gonna have another one.
Yeah, it's in 2023. Another one.
Nice. Congrats. Yeah, make it happen.
Yes. So what's next for you?
What's next for me? Next for me, is 3 years. Go give my money to the ASWB to take my clinical exam and hopefully pass it.
Oh, it's gonna happen. You're gonna have that LC. Yeah, it's in the universe already.
And what else is next for me? I want to, so I have my KSAC, I have my KSAC T, I have the training.
Okay.
So I want to put in my my paperwork to take the exam for the KSAC. Because I already did the training, and I feel like it'll just make me a well-rounded social worker. And if I want to do consulting work or something later on, which I do want to, then at least I have that. Somebody told me every letter after your last name is money, and that always stuck to me. And I'm like, wow, that is true. And then I'm starting to do I'm gonna be a therapist under the supervision of a LCSW, so I could
Nice.
work and also get my hours. So that's what's next for me.
No, that's great that able to do that. No, all the best to you on that,
Oh, thank
because
you.
people definitely got, there's a lot of trauma, a lot of hurt in our communities, and that's partly what I wrote, my poetry book, just share, my story. Like I'm in the field working, and I'm going through my own stuff. Can only imagine what just the rest of society, like, going through their losses, and it just not have to be like losing family members, just be job loss, housing, like,
Mm-hmm.
I I was 20 pounds skinnier. Like now I gained like this COVID weight that I can't lose, and it's just like, or no, just little things like that. Like it just adds to the anxiety and just like everything that's going on in society, and with the politics going on, and all this stuff, and families breaking up over politics, and people losing friends over politics, or
Yeah.
you thought your friend was cool, and then you find out their true colors, and it's like, it does, their values don't go with your values, so you gotta cut people off, and like you're like, no, at the end of the day, you I'm gonna miss that person. You grieving like the friendships lost because of politics going on, or family members, or like fighting over politics. So it's just a lot of stuff that's out there that needs to be unpacked, and that's what we do, try to unpack those everything that's going on,
Yep. That's exactly what we do.
on top of dealing our own personal stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, there was many days that I'm like, like counseling somebody, and and I'm like broken. I'm like torn apart. I was just like a mess, right? But I had to put myself aside, and do what's best for the client.
Mm,
So yeah, it's part of the process, right? It's part of our own healing.
that's it. Wait, last question: where can people find you?
I am on Instagram. I'll tell you now, I don't even know my Instagram. My Instagram is Elizabeth underscore Conde underscore SW. That's my Instagram.
Awesome.
Yes.
And I'm grateful to, thanks to the book, to be share space and be in community with you.
And likewise, thank you.
And whatever whatever you need, I'm a email, I'm a Instagram DM away. Like if you need anything, by all means.
Oh, I'm gonna bug you because I need to fix my LinkedIn page.
Oh, you got to talk to Harleni about that.
Yeah,
Hey,
God.
ella la estrella. She's the queen of LinkedIn. She's like,
Who?
Harleni. She's in the book.
Oh,
Harleni
she's the
Vasquez.
okay. Someone have to reach. Yeah, because I'm like, what is this? I
I
don't
took I
understand
took
anything.
I took like one of her LinkedIn trainings, so I hooked my page up a little bit thanks to
Oh, no
her.
way. Oh
And
my God, I have to do one of her trainings then. If you see that she's doing a training, please send me a message on Instagram or something.
yeah, absolutely.
Um, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, because
just follow her, because she's always posting stuff on Instagram, and
hold on.
then
What
like
is her Instagram page? Do you know?
is her company name is your oh, I got the book right here, and I actually read her chapter 2 today. Like I read quite a few
Your
chapters
love
today.
mine?
Yeah,
Yes. Okay.
your evolved mind. Yeah, yeah. Just follow. She's. I call her the queen of LinkedIn. So I'm still, and also, if you I learned this at a TED talk that I went to this summer. Instead of hitting the follow, like if you want to connect with a person,
Uh-huh.
in, instead of hitting the follow button, go, there's like the three dots like next to their name
Uh-huh.
on the right side, and you hit those the button with the three dots and one of those buttons says connect. Hit connect, and if they connect with you, then you have a better chance of seeing their stuff instead of actually hitting the follow button on LinkedIn.
Oh, that's wonderful.
because LinkedIn has like first, second, and third connections. So you'll be able to see like their connections and their connections after that.
Which is funny because look us here. Do you see it? I
That's a
just
good that's a good looking guy.
I just opened the LinkedIn page and I put home and I'm like, oh, I know this guy. Oh, okay.
I try to put more stuff on LinkedIn just because like, it's just LinkedIn is like the way to go. I've actually like met people through that I've connected on LinkedIn and had podcast interviews as a result. LinkedIn just
Oh wow, that's awesome.
email like sending like messages and then eventually like email people and gotten people on the podcast because of LinkedIn. So it
Okay.
helps.
Well,
It
if you
helps.
need more social workers for your podcast, let me know.
Yeah, I'm always looking for people. I'm actually trying to get everybody from the book on the podcast.
Oh well, I'm sure you will. But if you need other social workers, just let me know because I have friends who are colleagues who are school social workers, and I have friends from from school, and they'll be more than happy to be in your podcast.
No, yeah, I'm always looking for people, and for those watching and listening, email me badcityentertainmentllc@gmail.com. I'll put it in the show notes. Definitely, if you want to get on the podcast. One of my goals is to interview a social worker on all 50 states. So that just want to see what exactly is going on, boots on the ground in your particular state, and of course, any social workers like in Canada, in Europe, and or throughout the world as well. Because I've met people from Toronto and on the podcast, and from England as well. The time difference always throw me off. So.
Oh yeah, time difference. So my friends are from Jersey. Those social workers either in Jersey or in New York.
Okay.
So, if if you want to interview any of them, I'm
No,
sure
yeah, definitely send them my way.
all right. So I'm gonna inbox you on Instagram, and then and then we'll set that up. I love connecting people.
No,
So
that's great. And the book launch event was definitely proof of relationships and connecting, and yeah, make money together too, and the partnerships and all the whatever happens as a result of, especially after volume one, to see people connecting, and there was a lot of events that happened like right after the book launch,
yeah.
and I'm hoping for those same type of opportunities as a result of this book.
Oh yes, I think that I think we're definitely gonna have opportunities. Definitely. And remember, like what you put in the chat, make sure you follow up with the DOE because that
Yeah,
is
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's a good avenue.
And
And if
I have
there's anything
and
that I could with, let me.
I got no problem traveling to New York, especially with even driving, because I could write off the mileage, and my car is in my business name anyway. So
Oh, that's awesome. Good. Yeah.
so
If
that's
you need, if you need any help with anything that I could help you with, you let me know.
yeah, vice versa.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Good talking to you, and
Like,
we'll talk soon.
all right. Thank you for having me.